What is up, guys? We are so glad you're here. Welcome to the Work Toward Wonder podcast. Let's go. Guys, today we have Rachel, also known as Rodney.
Yeah, there's a story with that.
Yes, but this is Rachel Fishel, guys. I am so excited to have her here today. So we start each podcast by asking our guests, what does wonder mean to you?
Okay, so for me, I would say when I think about wonder and especially God, I often think, okay, I know he's always working for our good, but sometimes I sit, especially when there's not like an end to the story yet, you're kind of in that middle, the waiting period, and you're kind of like, I wonder what he's going to do with this.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. So I like to sit and think like, I wonder what he's up to. I wonder how he's going to turn this around.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. Yeah. I love that. Today we're going to talk about forgiveness, guys, and so Rachel's going to get us going with that.
Yeah. So I would say that, everyone has that one thing that really hits them to the core, right? Yeah. And for me, a couple of things I'm going to talk about that I've experienced in my life is kind of that feeling of betrayal and what to do with it. Mm-hmm. So when I think about it, the things I'm really going to talk about today are in my adulthood when I've experienced this feeling of betrayal. But when I really think about it, like I can remember times in my childhood that I felt betrayed. Either my trust was betrayed or just I had lots of friends that moved away throughout my childhood and that feeling of betrayal, even though it was not their fault at all, that they were moving away. But so it started from a young age that I had this feeling, and that's really kind of affected a lot of my relationships. And I've had to really learn how to work through it and learn to process that. But really, I'm going to talk a lot about my college years because that's when, they say college is like the best time of your life.
Yeah.
And there were definitely some great moments. Don't get me wrong. There were definitely some really high points in my college years. But there were also a lot of low points and just that very strong feeling of betrayal. So starting in my freshman year of college, shortly after school started, I started chatting with this guy actually from back home or close to back home. And I kind of knew a little bit about his story, but we started chatting and ended up started dating. And he actually had cancer at the time. And so that was a whole thing in and of itself, dating someone with cancer. But we dated for a year and then he proposed to me. And we, even though we were like super young, I felt like we looked at life a little bit differently just because of what he was going through. And by the time he proposed, like he had a successful bone marrow transplant and he was in remission and things were good. And so he proposed and life was good. And he proposed on a Sunday and I was home for the weekend. And so that meant I had to go back to school. Yeah. And he, when I was back at school, he couldn't quite figure out how to like get his relationship status to change on Facebook, which is a really big deal, right? Yeah. And so he ended up giving me his login information. And when I was in there helping him like change it, some messages started popping up. And I'll be 100% transparent here that I probably overreacted. Like to this day, I don't think that he was ever unfaithful to me, but it was just this feeling that I had trusted him and that we had never had conversations about these females that he was having just friendly conversations with, but still it just hit me the wrong way. Yeah. And so anyways, I was being very prideful in that moment because here one day I'm like announcing to the world of Facebook, again, very important, that I'm engaged. And then the next day, like I feel the crushing weight of that just falling apart. And a few weeks go by, we're like trying to work through it, but also just there's a lot of anger. And again, that sense of betrayal. And I just felt like, if he did this, and what else? Yeah. What else could he do? And so we ended up breaking the engagement off. I let my pride kind of go to the side for a little bit. and realized that it just wasn't a great place. I think we came to a mutual decision that it just really wasn't a great place. But still, like, it just struck me to my core. And it kind of sent me in a downward spiral, but at the same time, it like leveraged me to really try and find me, like you go to college and this, every moment before that, you're like in your parents' household and you're your own person, but still within their household, their rules, their everything, their boundaries. And so college is definitely this time of like exploring and discovering who really am I. And I felt like that moment was definitely kind of a catapult into that discovery. And so I actually ended up doing some counseling sessions at school, and that just helped me kind of process everything, right? So that happened in the fall of my sophomore year, and really worked through things through the winter. And by February, I remember feeling good. Like, I was not ready to date again. But I was like, I feel good. Like, I feel like I've worked through things. I've kind of made peace with him. I forgave him in that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But I was feeling good. I'm like, okay, my world kind of felt like it was back together. Until just 2 or 3 weeks later, my world literally came crashing back down. And this time it was with my parents. And I don't even, to be honest, don't even remember the conversations in the beginning, how it all unfolded. But I remember my mom calling me one day, and basically the feeling I got from it was that she no longer felt like she could stay married to my dad. And that hit like a ton of bricks. My parents had been married at that point for 26 years. If you ask anyone in our family, in our community, that was never, ever something that they thought my parents would ever even consider. And, I think that when we're growing up and we're like, we look up to our parents a lot, right? They're role models for us. And gosh, when that happened, I think I was just numb to it for a while. By the grace of God, I had actually signed up for a mission trip over spring break. And I have never been so thankful to not go home. Because I was just like, it was just like I said, something I never expected would happen. I did not know how to deal with it. I didn't even know what it all meant. Like, she was telling me one thing, my dad was telling me another thing. My dad was totally taken off guard by it. And in the midst of about 6 weeks, I think my brother and I felt or were hoping that they would work through it. They would, go to counseling themselves or kind of do whatever it took. And I think my dad was very willing, but my mom was not. She had made up her mind. And so from the time I learned about possible separation to the time she moved out of the house was about 6 weeks. And that just still to this day seems crazy to me because, wow, so much can happen in 6 weeks. So she moved out and things just became really real. My dad, I felt like he was grieving. And I think he even made a comment one time that it was like he was grieving the loss of his wife, but it was worse because she was still alive. But she was choosing not to be there anymore. And I became really angry. Super angry. Like I said, I admired both of my parents, and to think that any of either one of them could, I know they're not perfect, but that they could do something that would change the trajectory of our family. Like, that's huge. And it was a really, really long time that I had that anger and that bitterness. And man, I would say things to my mom that obviously I regret now,
Yeah.
but I was just so mad and I didn't understand it. And I didn't understand how she could hurt us like
Yeah.
that. And I learned a lot over that time, maybe more of the reason why she left, and that made me even madder.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like, I remember talking to our youth pastor at the time, and I said, how do I, like, have a relationship with her still
Mm-hmm.
when I don't support what she's doing?
Yeah.
And I don't want her to think that me having a relationship with her is giving her an out, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Or that you like approve of what happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And, he said, and I didn't even go in the details of it
Yeah.
with him. He didn't even know who I was talking about
Yeah.
necessarily, but he said, you just have to find ways to show kindness
Mm-hmm.
creatively. And he said, you kind of have to put yourself aside.
Yeah.
And it was good for me to hear that, but I think when he told me that, I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Because I felt like at that point, I had kind of like surrounded myself with a bubble,
Mm-hmm.
like almost like a self-protection bubble.
Yeah.
And I didn't want anyone or anything getting through that.
Yeah.
Because I just had all these emotions. And like I said, I just did not know how to process it all. But he said that to me, and that planted a seed in me for sure. Because it was still many months later. I mean, I would say it was a good year and a half before my mom and I started to mend relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But through that year and a half, like, I started to be more reflective of my own heart and
Mm-hmm.
just how, like, I just felt very, like my heart was clouded.
Yeah.
That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't even really know who I was in that season of life, just because my heart was just so burdened by the anger and the bitterness that I was holding on to.
That's what like unforgiveness can do to you. Like it changes who you are as a person.
It does.
Like
it for sure does.
Who Rachel was before she was like unforgiving and hurt is not the same person she was while she was hurting and angering. And I feel like so many times today people get hurt and then they don't address it and they hold on to it and they create this bubble and they are not themselves and they're not who God created them to be.
Yeah.
Because they're so frustrated and so focused on the anger that they have inside of them.
Yes, for sure. And I was definitely like, when you're going through such a experience that changes your life and everything you thought it would look like, it can consume you.
Yeah.
It really can. And, I pursued God through it, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, God, I trust you, but also I'm trying to fix it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work.
Yeah, no, it's not how it works at all.
I came to learn that. I mean, it cannot be by our own strength.
No, absolutely.
Whether it's a small problem or a big problem.
Yeah.
And for this, it was completely out of my control. There was no way that I could fix it.
Yeah.
There was no way that I could bring my parents back together. It was completely out of my control. But still, I would find moments that I could be in control of. And I felt like I was in control when I was screaming angry words at my mother.
Yeah.
And so like I said, it was about a year and a half, because from the time my mom moved out, a year and a half later is when I graduated college. And at that point she was remarried. She attended my college graduation, but still things were just tense at that moment.
Yeah.
I would say it was after college graduation that I really, like, things had been leading up to that point, but after that I really started to kind of let my walls down in this bubble that I had put myself in and like start chipping away at the unforgiveness.
Yeah.
But still it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Because, I felt betrayed. I felt betrayed by both of them, really. I felt especially betrayed by my mom.
Yeah.
I felt betrayed by some people that were close to our family and in our community that maybe they didn't give her permission to leave, but they also didn't speak life into her and say, hey, there's maybe still something in your marriage that you could hold on to.
Yeah.
And so I felt hurt by them too. And so that, like I said, it just, over time, it just builds up, and it just completely consumed me. And Derek, bless his heart, him and I started dating 3 days after my mom moved out. And I was fully transparent with him. I told him before we met up that weekend to hang out, I said, I've got something I have to tell you this weekend. Of course, he's freaking out. Like, what do you have to tell me? And so in person, I told him, I said, my mom moved out this week, and it's pretty likely that my parents are getting a divorce. And of course, it didn't really affect him. But I knew that was something that I needed to tell him and be transparent about, because I knew that the season ahead was going to be hard. But he stuck with me. Through the time that Rachel was not Rachel and not who I was called to be, but it was literally just the season I was in. I will say that once I started deciding, and this is through all moments of hurt in my life, and even since my parents have been divorced, like, I've felt betrayed by my dad and his new marriage. I've felt betrayed by other family members. I felt betrayed by my husband at times, in our marriage. Like, people aren't perfect, and you can't depend on them to be perfect. There is only one perfect person, and it is God. And that is who we have to put our full hope in and our full trust in. And the relationships here on earth are broken because we live in a sinful world. We live in a broken world. And, the more I started really thinking about, like, taking my parents off maybe a pedestal.
Because, your whole life, they were your everything. They raised you. When I think about my parents, I look up to them. They are who I want to be in life. And when they hurt you or, catch you off guard or betray you, you don't even know what to think. Because, these are the perfect people in my life.
Right. Yeah. And I was always proud of my parents because they grew up in very different families. My dad grew up in a family that was a faith-filled family. He had 3 older brothers, all of them happily married. Divorce was never something you talked about. It was literally a last resort for something really big. And even then, I don't even know if it would have been an option for my grandparents or for any of my uncles. Whereas my mom grew up in a family, they didn't go to church. She also had 3 older brothers, all of them on their second or third marriage, her parents' second or third marriage. But I was always so proud of my mom. You can change the trajectory of your family. But then, here we are. So, you kind of put your parents on a pedestal, and then when they knock you off your feet, you're like, oh wow, they really aren't perfect.
And you can't expect them to be.
Yeah.
A lot of, I feel like sometimes our unforgiveness comes by expecting everyone else to be perfect. If you are not perfect and you don't do exactly what I expect you to do, then I get angry at you. But no one ever is going to be perfect, and no one is ever not going to hurt you. Whether it's your parents, your friends, your siblings, your significant other, whoever you're dating, your hurt is just, it's a part of life because we are sinful people.
For sure.
We have to be able to navigate that without being so bitter that we can't mend relationships.
Yes. And mending relationships is huge because I think it'd be easy, so to speak, to, work through the unforgiveness and come to a point of forgiveness, but then still turn your back and not mend that relationship. But I don't think that's where God has called us to be. I mean, I think there are certain exceptions when that person or that relationship is toxic to your life and that it's more harmful than good. But I think in most scenarios, God wants to see forgiveness and, a repairing, a mending of that relationship.
It doesn't always have to look the same though.
Right.
Someone, I'm just thinking big here, if someone hurts you really big and you forgive them and you mend the relationship, you are not living unforgiveness anymore, but things might not go back to the way that they were.
Right. Or it may take a long time. Yeah. So adjusting your expectations through that, I think that's huge. So when I started really breaking down those walls. Like I said, it was a process. Like, you know, I would be like, okay, I forgive her. Like, I forgive everything she did. I cleansing myself of all the anger, the bitterness and everything. And then the next day I would wake up and I'd be like, have to go through it again. And again and again. And, you know, the Bible talks about this when I think it's Peter who's like,
in Matthew,
he's like, something about
he asked the Lord how many times he forgive.
And Jesus says not 7 times, but 70 times 7.
Yeah. That's like a lot.
The math.
Yeah, it's like
that's a
lot of times.
And so, and I think his point is, it really is a process. And sometimes you are forgiving that person over and over and over. And at first I wasn't forgiving her because she needed forgiveness, although I know she did. But it was because I was tired of living the unforgiveness.
Yes, it's like the biggest thing someone told me once is that the person that you are like mad at or that you have unforgiveness toward is not affected by you not forgiving them.
Yes.
If someone hurts you and you are mad at them and you're not going to forgive them and you're holding a grudge, they are not affected by that. You are the only one.
Yeah.
A lot of times I feel like we think, well, if I stay mad at them, that they're going to live a terrible life, that's going to be awful. But they're moving on. They don't care. Like, but you are the one that is living a terrible life. It's not fun to live your life in constant anger and turmoil.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not fair to them either. Really. I mean, we all, like, none of us deserve forgiveness. And that's really the hurdle I had to get over. I was like, I don't want to forgive her because she doesn't deserve forgiveness. And that's truly what I felt. But none of us do. And we're in the season leading up to Easter. And it's like, man, to think of the weight of what Jesus felt and like the betrayal that he went through, you know, like, I mean, from the people that were praising him on Palm Sunday to turning around a couple days later, you know,
who yelled, crucify
him, like that sense of betrayal. Hey, wait a second, you were just, you know, bowing down and worshiping me as I was coming into town, like, and then, you know, we've got Judas. Ultimate betrayal. And like just the weight of that. And I think I feel like Jesus even felt betrayed by his own father. Like,
I mean, because of us and our sin, he cries out, God, my God, why have you forsaken me? Like, because of what we have done, we were the ultimate betrayal to the Lord. Like, because of us, he could not preach his father anymore.
And like thinking about it in that perspective really changes your mindset, right? And I had to remind myself of that a lot. Is like, she doesn't deserve forgiveness, but neither do I. And yet Jesus hung on that cross for my forgiveness, for her forgiveness. And it is very clear, I feel like, in the word that we are to forgive others just as he forgave us. And we are only going to be forgiven ourselves when we have forgiven others. So, you know, I think forgiveness is such a gift, right? It's a gift that we get to accept and live in that freedom of whatever it was that we needed to be forgiven from. But it's also a gift that we can share with others. And you know, I feel like that's the good news as a whole,
gospel,
right? That's the gospel. Like, not to just take it for your own self and your own selfish desires. Like, hey, I want to be forgiven, but to share it with others. And it really was after those moments when I truly got to the point. I'm like, I really feel like I have forgiven her completely. And man, our relationship got so much better. And to this day, I'm like, I don't know what I would do without my mom. You know, it really came full circle. I'll just share this. When I was super angry and I was yelling at my mom multiple times that when I started having kids, if he's in the room, you will not be around my grandkids. Just lots of ultimatums like that. And because I wanted to hurt her like she had hurt me, right? That was really the goal. But full circle moment. So a couple years after our relationship had mended, and Gideon was born. Again, don't know what I would have done without my mama when I became a mama. So my mom's second marriage, her husband was not in great health. But really after Gideon was born, things kind of started taking a turn for the worse. And he had spent a lot of time in and out of the hospital. And right around the time Gideon turned 6 months old, and he adored Gideon, loved him. And anyways, right after Gideon turned 6 months, he had been in the hospital and had just come home. And Derek had praise and worship practice. It was Monday night, and I had to be at work late. And so my mom offered to take Gideon home with her. Perfect. And her husband was, even though he had come home from the hospital, he was not doing well. And basically just laid in bed that night. But my mom took Gideon in and laid with him for a while. And she talked about how he kind of became more alert during those moments, and just really beamed in the presence of Gideon and just loved being around him. And that next morning he passed away. And I think about that a lot, because here in one moment in my unforgiveness, I was telling her there was no way that he would ever meet her grandchildren. And then for Gideon to bring him so much joy in some of the final hours that he was alert and awake. That's when it really became full circle for me, and just showed me the true power of forgiveness.
There's always something good that comes on the other side of forgiveness.
Yeah, for sure.
That's good.
Yeah.
I do want to go back talking about 70 times 7. So one time I had gotten hurt really bad. And I just remember that moment. I was like, I made it a decision early, like that I was going to forgive this person. And I, in my, earlier in my life when I was younger, when I was in middle school, leading a freshman year of high school, something happened to my family and we got hurt bad. And I really struggled with forgiving the person who hurt us. I'm a huge family person. And so if someone hurts my mom, my dad, and my brother, it's going to go down.
Watch out.
Yeah, watch out. Because they was hurt me, don't hurt them. And so someone had hurt my family and I was so bitter. I was like, how could you ever do that? Because my family to me is my everything. They're I hold my dad and my mom on this pedestal and I love them so much. And when you hurt them, I was so angry. It's how could you ever? Especially someone who hurt them was someone I also trusted, so they hurt my family and I was like, wow, I was so angry and it took me forever to forgive them. I'm probably even a year and I was still thinking about this and it kept popping up in my head and I just made it apparent I have to forgive them. And so I had finally gotten over that and I encountered another time where something happened and I was like, I'm going to forgive. There is no option but to forgive because I've seen in my life where it ruins everything. And so I got hurt and I just remember writing 70 times 7. It's found somewhere in Matthew. 70 times 7 and I made it the wallpaper on my phone. I wrote it on my mirror. Any time that I thought about it, I was 70 times 7. I forgive you. I forgive you. And I turned on worship music, all about forgiveness. And I read in the Bible about the Lord forgiving us. And I'm like, I will forgive. And that made it so much easier. Not to say I didn't have times where I was frustrated when I cried. And I remember you walked through this with me too. I talked to you guys and I was so angry and bitter, but every day I woke up, I chose, and this was for a week straight. I woke up in the morning and I'd think about it and I'd be like, I forgive. God has forgiven me and I forgive them. And I was able to wake up and do that every morning. And now I live in this forgiveness and I'm not angry and I'm not bitter anymore. And even though it's been 8 months and I just remember now, even when I think about it now, I'm like, I don't even think about unforgiveness now.
You think about it differently.
You think about it differently.
You're on the other side.
You see your mom every single, not day now that you moved. You see your mom all the time.
All the time.
And it's not there anymore, I feel it's always in the back somewhere, but it's but I've forgiven them and I have that healing.
Yes, for sure. But it's a choice,
yes,
especially in the beginning, and especially when you're still feeling those feelings of anger and hurt. Because I think it's easier to feel that anger and hurt than it is to actively
so much easier.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why we all get trapped so much, is because we are so like focused on doing the easiest thing, which is easiest to say angry.
Yeah.
But you have to make the conscious decision. It's not something that's going to happen on its own. You have to make the conscious decision every day to say, I forgive you.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen over and over again. And another person's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
And you may
it's
be
not
going
over.
Through, you may be going through unforgiveness your whole entire life. Like there's things that are going to happen, and you have to learn to forgive. And when you learn to forgive now, your life will go so much smoother. And that's what I'm so grateful for, to have people like you in my life who have learned like unforgiveness is not it. It's like it's not something you want to do.
Fun.
It's not fun. And so now
it's not pretty.
As I go through things, I'm like, when I've been on both sides, not forgiving and forgiving, and when I live on the side of forgiveness, it's so much better.
Yeah, it is.
Also, one more thing that someone pointed out to me once is talking about when Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. So Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him.
Yeah.
He knew that Jesus was going to betray him. Judas was going to betray him. And he washed his feet anyways.
Yeah.
I feel like with the unforgiveness comes like trust issues.
A lot of times.
A lot of times like we don't trust people around us now. Like we got hurt and now I don't trust you.
Right. It's hard.
It's hard. Yeah. But Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him, and he chose to wash his feet anyways. Yeah. And he chose to love him still, even though he knew that he was going to betray him.
Do you think in that moment he was already choosing to forgive?
Already. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I know what you're going to do, and I'm choosing to show this act of forgiveness and this act of love even before it's even happened.
And that's how he loves us too.
Yeah.
When he was on the cross, he knew every single sin, every time we betrayed him, and he chose to forgive us.
Yeah.
And
so good.
Live like Jesus. Choose to forgive others.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be points in life when my family and my friends hurt me, and I already now have to decide I'm going to forgive them.
Yeah.
You have to live like preventive forgiveness, if that makes sense. Like before someone hurts me, I choose today that I'm going to forgive.
Yeah.
So then when you get a gut punch and you get knocked over, you're like, okay, I choose to forgive now, because the sooner you take care of it, the better it's going to be.
Yes. And the easier it is on the other side.
Yeah.
So much better.
So much better.
It's a process, but it's worth it.
Yes, always.
So worth it.
Forgiveness is always worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. That's so good. So good.
Yeah.
That was really good. I'm so excited. Yeah. The Lord, the Lord is so good. Amen.
Yes, amen.
Okay, so we end every episode with just some like fun questions.
Okay.
So first one is the biggest, hardest question, so I'll get out of the way. Favorite worship song? And it can be like any Christian song.
Okay. Can I give you two?
Yes. Yes.
Because I've got one that I've really been clinging to lately, but it's more of an upbeat, like, so.
We love it all.
Yeah, it's No Fear by John Reddick.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And especially when he's like, not over my family, not over my future, not over my battles, not over my struggles, like, no fear.
Ooh, that's good. I like that.
So that's a good one. And the boys rock out pretty hard in the back seat whenever we have that one.
I love when your kids come around because they're always singing some type of worship song.
Yes.
So like, kudos to you as a mom raising your children to sing the praises of the Lord. So that's so amazing. Yes.
Listen to.
Yeah. I was walking to the church the other day, and Gideon was just I wasn't singing that week, and you guys were in there worshiping, and he was just jamming out, and I was like, that is so cool. Like, he literally does not even know these like crazy things. He can't remember these things, but he remembers the Lord's praises.
Yes.
And that's
he told me that today during practice. Him and Elias, I almost said Bougie. Him and Bougie. Yeah, that's what his name is, basically. They were dancing to praise. Aww. He's like, we heard you playing praise.
Aww,
I was like,
that's so cute.
Yeah, that's good.
Awesome.
Okay, so that's one of them. And then the other one is Here in the Presence, the elevation.
So good. We just sang that.
So good. Oh, so good.
Yes.
Last Sunday night and then last Wednesday night at youth. And I'm like, every time I'm like, man, it's so good. And especially the bridge, it talks about, I know your past is broken, but you can let go and move on.
Yeah. I remember when I led that song at church, I just remember this feeling like people have a hard time forgiving themselves. Like, as like, and even like me too, like, I have done wrong things and I have a hard time forgiving myself and living in the grace of God.
Yeah.
And so when it says, I know your past is broken, but you can move on. It's over now.
It's over now.
Your past is not defining who you are.
Absolutely. And that just speaks to the forgiveness, right?
Yeah. So good.
For others and for yourself.
Yes. Forgiveness.
Don't forget about.
So important.
Don't forget about forgiving yourself.
If you cannot live in the grace of God your own life, then you can't offer that grace to other people.
To others. Yeah, for sure.
That's so good.
So
those are your two. Okay.
Sorry.
No, those are good. I agree. I would have such a hard time, so that's why I ask you questions. And
Exactly.
Yeah. So those two songs are going to go into the Work Toward Wonder Worship Spotify playlist. So making history, first one with two.
Oh yeah. Let me pave the way.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. Next one. What is your favorite ice cream flavor? Wait, first, are you an ice cream fan?
Yeah, I like
ice cream.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, my favorite ice cream flavor. Like if I'm going somewhere and ordering ice cream, I'm gonna get something. I don't know if it's bougie, but it's definitely a mixture.
Yeah. Okay.
So
yes.
It's mint Oreo with brownie chunks.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
I'm gonna
have to try that.
Really good.
Mint Oreo.
Yeah.
I've like heard mint Oreo, but with brownie.
It takes it to a different level.
I am a sucker for ice cream, so I will have to try that one out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do it.
Yum.
Do it.
Okay. Next question. What is your go-to outfit? So like we're going to the. It's a fun question. Okay, so I love fashion, and so I was like, let's see what other people think. So, if you're like going to the mall, so I asked like Morgan and Kelsey, if you're going to the mall, what is like your go-to outfit?
Okay, probably a pair of jeans, and I'm trying to think, what did I wear last fall when we all went shopping that one day? I wore jeans,
cold,
and sneakers,
like a sneaker.
And maybe a sweatshirt.
I think it was like a sweatshirt, like a nice sweater.
Yeah.
You looked cute.
So here's my thing. Like, I think jeans, because like I don't want to just wear sweats to go shopping, especially with friends. If I was by myself, maybe. But but it's different when you're with your friends. Yeah. But also, I think about if I'm going to be trying on clothes and I want
easy on and off. I like make the mistake of wearing like layers. So I'll like turtleneck it and t-shirt it, and I'm like, that was dumb.
Yeah, you gotta be thinking about those things.
Always socks. That's the worst is when you go shoe shopping. You forget socks.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're done that.
Yeah. You just don't think about it.
Yeah, usually we go like buy the socks at the store and then try shoes on. That's like the whole thing. Okay, last one. What is like a unique fact about you to leave the viewers with so they remember Rachel?
Oh, remember me?
Yes.
Okay, a unique fact. Well, so I said, even though there was a lot of heartache during my college years, it wasn't all bad. So I interned at the state 4-H office for five semesters, and I ended up getting Student Employee of the Year.
That's awesome.
That's
huge.
Then went on, I got State of Iowa Student Employee, and then I got Midwest Student Employee. And then I got National Student Employee of the Year that year.
Holy cow!
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about you. So now I can call you National Student Employee.
National Student Employee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rodney the National.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's unique about me.
That's cool. Yeah. And you went to college at
Iowa State. Do not mix it with the other.
Not a Hawkeye. Not a Hawkeye. Or Cyclone. Cyclone. All right. I'm a Tiger, but I'll give you the guys bonus. Guys, we are so glad that you were here with us today.
Yeah.
I hope that Rachel's story touched you. It definitely touched me in my life, and just that you guys will live in the forgiveness.
Yes.
Live in the forgiveness of the Lord. His forgiveness for you and your forgiveness for others.
Yeah.
That's so good. All right, guys, we'll see you later. Remember, we drop podcasts every other Wednesday. please like and subscribe, and then comment below favorite ice cream flavor. We want to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So your favorite ice cream flavor, comment below, and we might just have to do like a giveaway, like whoever. So if you comment below, we'll randomize it, and then we will send you money for your favorite. To buy your favorite ice cream.
Buy your favorite ice cream.
Yeah, we'll send you money for your favorite ice cream. All right, so comment below, either on Spotify or YouTube, and we will give one lucky winner free ice cream.
Ooh.
All right.
Let it be you.
Yes. Bye, guys.